All week long, former President Donald Trump and his team have been spiking the football on President Biden's chaotic exit from Afghanistan. It's worth reminding everybody just who moved the ball to the goal line. Some key Trump officials have conveniently forgotten that.
The Taliban aren't looking for international recognition. I saw Speaker Pelosi say that we'll have to see how they behave. This is not a regime. These are butchers. These aren't people who care about a seat at the table at the United Nations.
By now, you've seen the video of former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo negotiating a peace deal with the Taliban last November. It was Trump who laid the foundation for the current U.S. withdrawal. It was Trump who was going to meet with Taliban leaders at Camp David before canceling at the last minute. He praised them time and again.
I'll be meeting personally with Taliban leaders in the not too distant future, and we'll be very much hoping that they will be doing what they say they're going to be doing. They will be killing terrorists. They will be killing some very bad people. They will keep that fight going.
Just last April, Trump released a statement saying getting out of Afghanistan is a wonderful and positive thing to do, insisting that his own timeline of a May 1st pullout was the way to go. Biden pushed it off until the end of August, but in June, Trump was bragging he had all but tied Biden's hands to the withdrawal.
In Afghanistan, where, by the way, I started the process, all the troops are coming back home. They couldn't stop the process. 21 years is enough, don't we think? 21 years. They couldn't stop the process. They wanted to, but it was very tough to stop the process. The only way they last is if we're there. What are we going to say? We'll stay for another 21 years, then we'll stay for another 50. The whole thing is ridiculous.
And along the way, Trump Republicans criticized Biden for not moving fast enough.
I supported President Trump in ending the forever wars. I supported President Trump by putting a date certain for U.S. forces to leave Afghanistan on May 1st. I supported that, and I'm disappointed that the Biden administration is kicking the can down the road till September.
Then there were the officials who helped craft the peace deal and were brushing off concerns of a speedy Taliban takeover.
I personally believe that the statements that the forces will disintegrate and the Talibs will take over in short order are mistaken. The real choices that the Afghans will face is between a long war and negotiated settlement. And I hope the Taliban and the other Afghan leaders make the right choice.
Which is all why former Trump National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster says it was his former administration that surrendered to the Taliban.
You know, our Secretary of State signed a surrender agreement to the Taliban.
You're talking about Mike Pompeo?
Yes. This collapse goes back to the capitulation agreement of 2020. I mean, the Taliban didn't defeat us. We defeated ourselves. And what's worse is we threw the Afghans under the bus on our way out.
The reality is both parties own this fiasco. Former President George W. Bush turned from Afghanistan to Iraq for a war of choice over weapons of mass destruction that were never found. Obama did not end the war. Trump did not end the war. Biden is trying to end the war, which, by the way, is something the American people generally support. Now, there are some Republicans and Democrats who warned against pulling out of the country this quickly. But if all of this is about competence, do you really want to leave that to Trump, who once suggested this?
If we wanted to fight a war in Afghanistan and win it, I could win that war in a week. I just don't want to kill 10 million people. Does that make sense to you? I don't want to kill 10 million people. I have plans on Afghanistan that if I wanted to win that war, Afghanistan would be wiped off the face of the earth. It would be gone. It would be over literally in 10 days. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to go that route.
If you thought Infrastructure Week was a blast, just wait for Trump's Afghanistan Week. Of course, there are some on the right who simply want to make hay out of the issue, or pillows.
How would you like to be in Kabul today as an American and you can't get to the airport? Where are you thinking your life is headed? If you're one of those family members, I bet you're not sleeping. I don't even think MyPillow can do it. MyPillow.com.
I think the better question is, how does Sean sleep at night? But I digress. The pictures of Afghans clinging to military planes are not what riles up the Fox audience. It's these images of Afghans loaded onto those planes.
Is it really our responsibility to welcome thousands of potentially unvetted refugees from Afghanistan? All day we've heard phrases like, we promised them. Well, who did? Did you?
You think Trump was going to bring all of these Afghan partners back to the U.S.? Let's ask one of the architects of Trump's immigration policy.
The United States of America never, ever made a promise, written or unwritten, to the people of Afghanistan that if after 20 years they were unable to secure their own country, that we would take them to ours. That is nonsense. That has never been U.S. government policy.
And leave it to Tucker Carlson, Fox's Ayatollah of paranoia, to take it one step too far.
If history is any guide, and it's always a guide, we will see many refugees from Afghanistan resettle in our country in coming months, probably in your neighborhood. And over the next decade, that number may swell to the millions. So first we invade, and then we're invaded.
Or as another pro-Trump propagandist put it, raise your hand if you want this plane landing in your town. I can think of somebody raising her hand. Anybody ever heard the line, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free? America has a long and proud history of welcoming refugees from war-torn countries. The Statue of Liberty has always symbolized that beacon of hope to the world. That has always been the American way. Yes, there are Afghans who did come to our aid in Afghanistan. They did help us fight the war against Osama bin Laden. Yes, some in fact did fight for their country and died for their country. We can't leave them behind. The images out of Afghanistan are hard to look at. There's no question about it. Perhaps that's to be expected when you try to end what's been called the forever war. But if we want to end that forever war, if we really want to get home from Afghanistan, I know of one light showing us the way.